You wake up, your stomach drops. The weight hits before you even open your eyes. It's like waking up under a collapsed roof, the weight of your own choices pressing down, and no one is coming to dig you out but you, because no one even knows. The wreckage is invisible, hidden away in digits behind a banking app. And the same thought keeps looping again and again. Why can't I stop? I've heard this story countless times over nearly a decade, helping thousands of people finally put an end to it once and for all. I'm Steve Rose, and in this video, I'll show you my 4-part framework on how to stop gambling without just relying on more willpower. Because gambling doesn't just take your money. It takes your peace, your time, your focus, and your hope. But if you're willing to take each of the steps in this video, everything changes. So let's get into it. Step 1, see through the illusion. Because you don't beat gambling addiction by just fighting harder. You beat it by seeing it clearer. And once you start seeing through the lies, you can finally start walking toward the truth. I've seen it so many times. The moment when the illusion cracks. When you look back and see the trap. Because it didn't start with chaos and desperation. It started with something that looked harmless. Maybe it even started with a win. The rush where everything feels possible. You feel alive, confident, and maybe even special. And for a split second, it feels like you've cracked the code. But that moment, that tiny spark of hope, that's the bait. Casinos and sportsbooks don't make billions by losing. They sell false hope like candy. Sweet at first, but rots you from the inside out. Every win or near miss is a hook designed to pull you back in. False hope is the most profitable product they sell. So here's a strategy to help you stop falling into the same trap. When an urge comes, I want you to play the movie until the end. Because the urge is like a movie trailer. A sizzle reel selling you tickets to your own downfall. Edited to hide the pain that always comes right before the closing credits. So pause, take a breath, and imagine this. You feel the pull. It's that familiar rush in your chest. Your brain tells you it's going to be different this time, that you've got it under control. But keep the movie rolling. Watch yourself placing the bet, feel your heart racing, not just from the thrill, but from the anxiety. See the moment the outcome hits. Maybe you win, maybe you lose, but either way, the movie doesn't end there. Watch what happens next. The guilt setting in, the tension rising, the lies forming in your head. You tell yourself you'll stop tomorrow. You scroll through your banking app, and you feel the emptiness return, heavier than before. That's the full movie. The urge will never show you the end, because if it did, you wouldn't buy a ticket. So every time a craving hits, pause, breathe, and play it through to the end. Don't stop at the highlight reel. See the part where the lights fade, the thrill is gone, and you're left with the silence that follows. And then, maybe imagine one more scene. The moment after you don't give in. See yourself walking away, breathing easier, and you wake up tomorrow with no damage to undo. That's how you change the ending. One urge, one decision, one movie at a time. Here's another simple trick that works. Write yourself a reminder. Any win is a future loss. Write it down and keep it where you'll see it every day. Because the truth is, when you're addicted to gambling, you don't stop when you're ahead. You stop when the money's gone. Because your brain doesn't crave the win. It craves the chase. And that feeling only exists when you're chasing. So money is just the fuel. That's why no win ever feels like enough. So keep that reminder visible. Any win is just a future loss. And it's not just about the money. Any win is just borrowed happiness. And the interest rate is your peace of mind. So here's another idea to remind you of this. Record a short video or a voice memo on your phone to your future self. Describe what this feels like, the pain, the exhaustion, the regret, and listen to it next time the temptation hits. Then you'll remember what's really at stake. And over time, once the illusion breaks, something strange happens. You start seeing the world differently. Not just how gambling works, but how it's been manipulating you. Everywhere you look, there it is. The ads, the sports commentary, the influencers. They've made it look harmless, social, fun. The industry spent billions of dollars convincing you that this is normal. And when you see it everywhere, it starts to feel like part of who you are. But it's not. It's just manipulation. And they've mastered it. So if you're starting to see through the illusions and want to take this even deeper and discover what's really driving these urges, there's a link below to apply for one-on-one support where I can help you turn these insights into real lasting change. And that brings us to step number 2, protect your progress. Part of regaining control means detoxifying your environment, not just your mind. Unfollow the gambling influencers, unsubscribe from promo emails, self-exclude, delete the apps, and use blockers like Gamban. Some people go even further and use a flip phone for a while. And remember, you're not cutting off fun, you're cutting off poison. Because recovery doesn't just happen inside your head. It happens in your environment. So once you've excluded, the next step is to reclaim your algorithm. Watch videos about recovery, growth, purpose, and within days, your feed will reflect your future, not your past. And the more noise you clear, the more silence you'll start to feel. And in that silence, something deeper begins to surface. That's when most people start to see what they've really been chasing. Because the truth is, most people don't just gamble for the money. They gamble for relief. And that brings us to step number 3. Heal the root cause. You can't fully recover until you face what you've been running from. For some, it's loneliness. For others, anxiety, boredom, or shame. Gambling doesn't create joy. It numbs discomfort, and that relief imitates joy. But it's really just a counterfeit version of it. Because when the buzz fades, the pain comes back, but louder than before. So next time you have an urge, stop, take a breath, and do a quick scan. Ask yourself, am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Fix that first. It's a simple acronym that spells HALT, and it's powerful because most urges come up when one of these underlying needs are not met. When you're hungry, you crave quick comfort. When you're angry, you seek control. When you're lonely, you look for connection. And when you're tired, you stop caring about the consequences. So before you fight the urge, meet the need beneath it. That's how you take back real control. Not by resisting harder, but by responding smarter. You can even give the urge a name. The trickster, for example. When it whispers, just one more time, you can say, thanks for trying to help, but I'm going to do something else right now. This is called procrastinating on the urge. Say, I'll revisit the idea in 15 minutes. Then walk, breathe, connect with someone, and meet an underlying need in one small way. Once you stop escaping the feeling, you can start healing it. And that's when recovery starts to take root. Not through power, but through self-compassion. When you start facing the underlying stress, guilt, or loneliness, it might be uncomfortable, but it's real. And now you can take steps to address it. This is what long-term healing looks like. And to get even more clear on what you're needing to heal, you can keep a small trigger log. When you feel an urge, write down what's happening and how you feel. Patterns will start to emerge, and patterns reveal unhealed pain. This is where professional support can come in. In my work with one-on-one clients, we go deeper into understanding the underlying emotions and patterns driving the urge, and together we uncover those deeper reasons and build coping strategies tailored to your specific situation. One of the most common themes that come up is shame. It's that quiet, relentless voice that says, what's wrong with me? Why can't I stop? You replay every loss in your mind, as if beating yourself up could somehow balance the scales, but it never does. Because the more you attack yourself, the smaller you feel, and the smaller you feel, the stronger the urge to escape through gambling. It's a cruel loop. Pain creates shame creates escape, and escape creates even more pain. You start believing that self-criticism is discipline, when really it's just another trap. You don't climb out of shame by being harder on yourself. You climb out by treating yourself like somebody worthy of love and support. So when the shame hits, say to yourself, this is hard, but I'm still worthy. That's self-compassion. And self-compassion is how recovery grows roots. When you treat yourself like somebody worthy of support, you finally stop fighting against yourself and start working with yourself. Because willpower might hold for a while, but it always fades. It's like trying to hold your breath underwater. Sooner or later, you just can't do it anymore. So instead of resisting harder, imagine urges are like waves. They rise, they crest, and they fade. You don't have to drown. You just have to ride it out. So when a craving hits, breathe deeply, feel the tension, name it, ride it, and let it pass. And if you slip, don't spiral. Stop, reflect, learn from what happened. Because you're not starting over, you're starting wiser. Every slip is a message, a clue pointing you to where the cracks are still open. And the wisest thing you can do after a slip isn't to punish yourself. It's to close the gap that made it possible. Maybe it's that last gambling app you haven't self-excluded from yet. Or maybe it's a payday with too much access to funds. Whatever opened the door, your job is now to close it. Because leaving doors open keep the urge alive. That's all the addiction needs, is one open door. And since money is the fuel, protect your funds by moving them out of reach, perhaps by letting somebody else handle it for a while. Burning the bridge back to gambling might feel terrifying, like letting go of an old friend. But like a toxic relationship, it was just manipulating you to isolate from the people in your life, telling you it's the only thing that matters. So you stay silent and the shame builds. Addiction thrives in silence, like mold growing in the dark. It feeds on shame, secrecy, and isolation. But the more you speak openly and honestly, it starts to lose power. Sunlight is the disinfectant. Because the opposite of addiction isn't control, it's connection. Reach out to one person today, a friend, a group, or a counselor. Because connection is your medicine. You can join communities like Gamblers Anonymous, online, in person, whatever you prefer. because you are not alone, and you'll hear your story and theirs. And once you start opening up to people in your life, create small daily rituals of connection. Dinner with family, a morning call, or a short walk. Healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in conversation. And connection builds confidence. Because the moment someone truly sees you, you start seeing yourself differently. Gambling taught you your worth was tied to winning. But recovery teaches you you are worthy of love and support. Because confidence doesn't come from being up. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. Each time you ride out an urge to bet, each time you tell the truth instead of hiding it, you strengthen trust in yourself. Every small win in your life outside of gambling counts. Write one down each night and celebrate it. And when it comes to facing your finances, get support if it feels too overwhelming. Because there's several nonprofit credit counseling agencies that can help you identify a clear path forward. And that brings us to step number 4, growing beyond the bet. This isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of who you're always meant to be. As confidence returns, something unexpected happens. The quiet you once feared starts to feel peaceful. You start noticing moments you used to miss. The rush fades, but joy starts to take its place. At first, life might feel slower, but slower isn't empty, it's steady. And steady is where peace lives. Because you've been sprinting on a treadmill going nowhere, chasing speed instead of direction. And now you're finally stepping onto solid ground. You don't need the high to feel alive. You need presence, purpose. Make a list of 10 things you can do in 10 minutes, small acts of joy, and keep it nearby when boredom hits. Plan joy on purpose. Don't wait for it to find you. Create it. Try new things, meet new people, because curiosity brings your spirit back to life. And as joy returns, something deeper begins to stir beneath. You begin to ask yourself the question gambling always drowned out. What's my life really about? What do I really want? Gambling gave you something to chase. Risk, reward, escape. But now you get to build something real. You don't recover by just removing addiction. You recover by replacing it with purpose. Write down your why. Why are you choosing to stop? Not just for other people, but for yourself. Who will this help you be? What will this help you do? Write it down and keep it visible. And when you're ready, turn your pain into purpose. Share your story. Help someone else. This isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of who you were always meant to be. Every lie gambling told you built a wall between you and your purpose, between you and your sense of connection. And every truth breaks down these walls, reconnecting you with the things you once enjoyed and the people who matter. So imagine this. You wake up in the morning with a clear mind and a steady heart. The first thought isn't panic, it's possibility. You walk into your day with confidence, no longer running from the past, but moving towards something that feels real. The weight is gone, the shame has lifted, and in its place is a quiet certainty that your story still matters and is far from over. This is where you begin to rebuild, not as the person who lost control, but as someone who found their strength. That's what's waiting on the other side of this. And if you're ready for that next step, there's a link down below to apply for support, because you don't have to do this alone. And in the meantime, you can check out my next video right here where I go even deeper into how I help clients go from stuck and struggling to free and focused on what matters without just relying on willpower. See you in the next one.